Hello everyone, this is Dan, your resident Digimon fan. Welcome back to the channel, and today I wanted to give a brief overview and first impressions of Digimon Survive. So Digimon Survive has been out for just over a week now. I got it on release date on Steam, and I've played it for about 20 hours. I'm currently on part 4 or chapter 4. So I think I'm coming up to the point where Bandai don't want us to talk spoilers, and I'm not going to be talking about any story spoilers or anything like that in this video, so don't worry about that. So far I've been enjoying the game quite a lot, and I think that a lot of that is going to be because I'm a Digimon fan. If I wasn't as big into Digimon as I am, it's possible that I wouldn't be enjoying this as much as I am, but coming at it from the perspective of a Digimon fan, I've had a really good time. So I'm going to talk about different parts of the game, what I like, what I maybe don't like quite so much, and then sort of like my overall final impressions of the game. Perhaps as someone who is a Digimon fan, or maybe someone who is relatively new to Digimon, I'll be able to help you make a purchase decision. So just to start off with, Digimon Survive is a visual novel adventure game with strategy RPG elements. So if you've ever played games like Fire Emblem, then the battle system will feel very familiar to you. And if you've ever played an adventure game at all in the past several decades, then you'll be familiar with that as well. But most likely it will remind you of visual novel anime type games. A lot of people said that the marketing was a bit misleading and that they were expecting much more combat than the visual novel side of things. I personally disagree. I think it was quite clear that the game was first and foremost going to be this visual novel style, and that the combat was a supplement to it. And that appears to be the case, and I'm perfectly happy with that. So I would say that it's about probably 70% visual novel and 30% combat, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I didn't think, when I started playing this, I didn't think that I was big into these sorts of adventure games, but actually the more I've been playing it, I've been really enjoying that part of the game. And also I realized that I've played other games like that before and really enjoyed them, like, you know, there's the supermassive games like Until Dawn and Dark Pictures. Really big into those sorts of games, and this actually has a lot of parallels with those games. Maybe not in the gameplay department, but certainly in the overall theme and the narrative. So just thought I would get that out of the way. So there is a lot of visual novel stuff. There's not so much of the combat, but what you have of the combat there is pretty good. So some bits I like, some bits I don't like, but overall I'm pretty happy with it. So right now on the screen we're looking at Agumon. So Agumon is your main Digimon that you have as the protagonist, because obviously it's Agumon, you always do. And of course the protagonist, Takuma, is a guy wearing goggles whose name begins with T, because that is apparently the only thing that these creators are allowed to make when it comes to main characters. So there's a lot of information on here, so we're going to talk a little bit about this, and then I'm going to talk about the battle system itself, and then we're going to go further into some other elements of the game. So there's a lot of stuff here that will be familiar to Digimon fans. So you've got HP and SP. SP is sort of like your special points. I'm not sure what the S actually stands for, to be honest. And that's the number of points that you have to use abilities and things like that. You can see we've got the 3 different attributes down here. So we've got vaccine. If we go to a different Digimon, let's find, here we go, for Growlmon, that's the virus symbol. And then for Lopmon, that's the data symbol. So that's the attribute symbol. So it's the same triangle as before, where vaccine is good against virus, virus is good against data, and data is good against vaccine. I don't know if there are any free Digimon in here. I assume that they probably are. Down here, if you've ever played a Pokemon game, these stats will be very familiar with you as well. You've got physical attack and defense, special attack and defense, and speed as well. The speed stat, because obviously this is turn-based, it just determines who goes first. You've got move type, so there's a few different move types. There's flying, there's walking. I don't think I have any other Digimon that have anything else. There's maybe going to be swimming ones, but I only currently have flying and walking. So there's that. Move amount is how many squares your Digimon can move in any direction. Vertical movement is how far up and down you can go. So if a Digimon has 2 vertical movement, it means they can go up 2 levels and if they've got 1, which most Digimon have, then they can only go at 1 level, like Floramon. The environments do have multiple levels, so that's what that means. And then down here, you have resistances. So interestingly, in this game, it doesn't actually tell you what the Digimon's typing is, but it's usually clear based on its resistances. So you can see that Floramon, for example, has a weakness to fire, and I'm not sure what that is, maybe earth. So you can kind of gauge, well no, I guess this is earth here. So you can gauge what kind of type he is here. I guess this is the grass type as well. Not sure, but you can see there's different resistances depending on what the Digimon is. So if we go to Deltamon, you see he's strong to fire, but he's weak to light, strong to darkness. So that's weaknesses and resistances. I don't really take it too much into account, though. I don't think, certainly on normal difficulty, you need to worry too much about that. If we look at the attacks, you can have up to 4 attacks. And range in the area here is for the attack you've selected. So for triple forces, for Deltamon, you can see he can shoot up to 4. Now, interestingly, when it says 4, it includes the square that you're on in that 4. So he's actually only 3 squares away, which is a bit frustrating. And the area is what it hits. So it hits everything in that direction, which is pretty cool. Every Digimon has a passive skill as well. So Deltamon has a low chance of unleashing 3 attacks instead of 1 when attacking, which is pretty awesome. 1 for each head, I guess. Who else has got? We got some other different skills. Dracomon, low chance of inflicting 1 random status abnormality when attacking, which is also pretty cool. So that's all the information on here. There are quite a lot of Digimon that you can get in this game. Not a huge number. It's nothing quite like the Pokemon games, but it means there's quite a good amount of variety. I think there's something like 115, maybe a few more than that. In fact, let's go have a look. If we go to the library, there's 117. So you can see 40 on that page, 40 on that page, and then down here, 117, and that includes the Guillaume Online. So a pretty decent number, not absolutely enormous, but it's good enough for a good variety of Digimon to come across and to raise as well. When it comes to the types of Digimon that you can have, there are partner Digimon, so the ones with these icons above their head are partner Digimon, and then you have what are called free Digimon, which are Digimon that are not related to any partner, and they can be obtained through things like DLC, for example Groundmon. They can be obtained by recruitment in the field, like my Birdramon here and my Patamon, and some of them you can be given in the story. Just, you know, you've just recruited Digimon, so I'm not going to point those out so I don't spoil anything. With the free Digimon, they can be digivolved using items. So if we look at Patamon here, he can be digivolved to Gatomon, Angemon, or Teruimon. I don't actually have the item required to digivolve to champion right now, but I could choose whichever one of these I wanted at any time. And then when I have other items, I can go up to Ultimate and then Mega. So you see there's quite a good number of different Digimon here I can go into. And you see Fangmon is a champion already, and he can go up to Marine Devimon, Arukenimon, and Myotismon. So that's pretty cool. For the partner Digimon, it's a little bit different. So for your Agumon can digivolve into different Digimon, and I think it's purely based on what may be called the Harmony system. I'm not sure if that's what it's called, but there are 3 different things which are in the game. There's sort of like Wrathfulness, Harmony, and I think the other one is Moral. And depending on how you answer certain questions, your Digimon will eventually digivolve in that way. So it's not obvious to begin with what you're going to get, but I do kind of like that. So I got Tyrannomon, which to be fair probably means that I screwed up somewhere. But Tyrannomon's still pretty good, so I'm not too upset about that. So in future playthroughs I'll be able to figure out how to get the other Digimon as well. For the other partner Digimon, it's a bit more straightforward, so they tend to be a more linear sort of evolution, but there is usually some sort of split at the end. So you can see that Falcomon evolves to Diatromon as its champion, but then in the Mega level it can be one of 2. With Labramon, you can see it's linear until it gets to Mega, and it can be one of 3. So there's a good amount of variety on that as well. But that's enough about the Digimon. Let's have a quick look at the actual battle system. So I've entered into a free battle at the moment. I'm facing off against a couple of Gardramons. So Gardramon is a virus Digimon. You can see these are my Digimon here. So I know Gardramon is a virus Digimon, so it's probably going to be best to use vaccine types. So I'm going to send out Agumon, Falcomon, Labramon. Let's also send Birdramon. And who else can we take? Let's take You know what, that'll do for those, and we'll just take Lopmon and Floramon. They can just come along for the ride. Okay, so you can see for a free battle, it's pretty straightforward. You either defeat everyone or you are all defeated. It's all good. The free battles don't have anything to do with the story. You can just choose to do a free battle at certain points, and it's a good way to recruit Digimon and also to get some items and level up and things like that. So with the battle system, you can see I've got a few different options over here. The game is on a grid, so if you've played games like Fire Emblem, it's very similar like that. You can see your Digimon can move in a certain direction depending on their stats and a certain number of squares and things like that. So your options for what you can do, you've got move, which obviously just means to choose where to move to. You've got attack, which is where you can choose your attack and choose where to do it. You can use an item, which takes up your attack turn, so you can't do an item and also attack on the same turn. Then you've got two more options, which are evolution and talk. When we move on to a partner Digimon, I will go through those ones because those two are reserved for the partner Digimon. So if I were to move with Birdramon, he can go quite far, so he's going to go over here. If I check my attacks, Meteor Wing, I think these guys are out of range, so you can see I can't actually hit them here. So if you can't actually hit anyone and you've already moved for your turn, you can choose to end your turn and guard in a certain direction. Whenever you end your turn, you choose which direction you want to be facing, and if you haven't attacked or used an item, you can guard. So I'm going to guard in this direction, which means if they try and hit me head on, they're not going to be able to do much damage to me. So now we're moving on to Falcomon, who is a partner Digimon. You can see I have two more options here. I have evolution and talk. So if we go to evolution first, for the free Digimon that you get in the wild, once you evolve them, they stay evolved. So my Birdramon is a Birdramon. I can evolve it up outside of battles into like a Garudamon or whatever, but I can't evolve him back down to Beamon. Whereas the partner Digimon, they stay at their rookie level and they can be evolved up and down in battle depending on what's strategic. So if we look at Falcomon here, I can choose to evolve him into Diatrimon. Now you might think, well, why don't you just start the battle evolved? You know, what's the downside? The downside is that evolving actually costs SP. So you can see that Falcomon, when he evolves, will lose 5 SP. And not only will he lose 5 SP straight away, but he will lose 5 SP every turn as well. So staying as a champion level and then ultimate Mega Digimon, it costs energy, essentially. If you remain as a rookie, you will earn SP each turn. So at the end of each round of turns, you will get some SP back. You know, no biggie. If you then evolve instead, however, you will be losing SP, and so you won't be able to use that SP for as many strong attacks. So for me, usually I try and stay as a rookie for as long as I can and then go into champion form when I need to. Obviously when you're playing on normal difficulty it's not as important, but it is an element of strategy that I do like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move Falcomon over here, and from here I can then choose whether I want to attack, which I can't because they're out of range. And I think this time, because I'm demonstrating it, we're going to evolve into Diatrimon. So I select evolve. There he goes. So you can see my SP went down by 5. And if we look at Diatrimon's attack, he now has the Destruction Roar attack. Gardramon is still out of range, but I can't use it. But if you have a look, it costs 30 SP. And I only have 226, and I'm losing 5 each turn. So you could see after a few turns, I'm going to basically be out of SP, in which case I'm probably going to have to Digivolve downwards. And you can choose to Digivolve downwards at any time, and that's a good way to get your SP back up. So it's a pretty cool system. I actually quite like it. It's taking the anime's way of, you know, Digivolving up and down and making it into a gameplay mechanic, which I think is really cool. The other option that we have for the partner Digimon, though, is Talk. And this is part of the game that I'm not massive on, but it's the entire system that you can use to recruit a Digimon. So if I select Talk here, you can do some basic things like talk to your teammates, and each of the partner Digimon has a different ability when you talk to one of your teammates. So you can see for Minoru it says that movement that amount is boosted, so I can talk to one of my teammates, and that means that basically I'm increasing how many squares they can move. So that's actually a pretty good buff, especially if you've got slow Digimon. But you can also use your talk on a foe. Now, I've only found this happen in free battles. I've not found that you're able to do this in story battles, which is a bit unfortunate because I felt like the advertising showed that you could use it in normal battles and sort of like trick your opponents and stuff. Maybe it will later on. As I said, I'm not at chapter 5 yet, but at the moment I can only use it in free battles. When you talk to an enemy Digimon, they will ask you a series of questions, so 3 questions, and they are multiple choice, and you have to answer in the way that you think they want you to answer. They're not right or wrong answers. You know, there is no actual right answer in the sense that it's not a question often that is a clear question. So there is like one Digimon will say, you know, why are leaves green? And one of the answers will be chlorophyll, which is the correct answer, but it's not necessarily the answer they want to hear. So you have to kind of figure out what they want you to say. So this Guardian says, looking at innocent monsters really puts your heart at ease, doesn't it? Now, the options are not for me, nope, love the nice guy act, they're so cute, and what a gentle soul. Now we have to think what sort of Digimon Guardian is. Is he going to be aggressive? Is he going to be passive and friendly? And what does he want us to say? So I think Guardian is probably going to be robotic. So I'm going to say not for me, nope. Yeah, that was the correct answer. So I got 2 bars. So at the top you've got these 6 bars with an arrow and a line in the middle. After you've answered the 3 questions, as long as you have 3 bars, you will then have the option to recruit the Digimon. If you choose the correct answer, you get 2 bars. If you choose a semi-correct answer, you get 1 bar. And if you choose any of the wrong answers, then you lose a bar. So it's a bit of a delicate balancing act. So you can see he says, I see, it looks like we're kindred spirits. So now he's asking question 2. Sometimes you should act on emotion instead of logic, don't you think? And the options are, that sounds dangerous, be true to yourself, leap before you look, and efficiency is key. So he's a robot. The previous answer was that he doesn't like, you know, creatures. I think efficiency is key, or leap before you look is going to be the 2 answers. I'm going to say efficiency because he's a robot. There we go. See, I guessed that pretty well. And so last question, I'd like to avoid a pointless battle if possible. And yet fight we must, get ready, there's no such thing, and then let's retreat. So he's robotic, it's probably going to be and yet fight we must, or there's no such thing as a pointless battle. I'm going to say there's no such thing. Yeah, that was a semi-correct answer, so I got 1 point for that. Okay, so I think I sussed him out pretty well. So you can see he's pretty happy with my response, and now I have 2 options. I have be my friend and I want items. So if I say I want items, he'll just give me something like a bandage, usually nothing too useful. There might be some Digimon later that gives you much better items, but that's what I'm getting for now. And then be my friend is how you recruit a Digimon, and you can see with this Guardian it's 22%. It does change depending on the Digimon and certain factors, so it's not always going to be 22%. But I'm going to try this out anyway. So basically it's a 1 in 5 chance. And you can see this time we succeeded. So you are worthy of my allegiance. Very good. So we've recruited that Guardian. So he's now off the map and he has joined our team. Very good. So that leaves 1 more Guardian on the map. If you fail that and you end up with fewer than 3 points out of 6, then the Digimon will become enraged and it will have enhanced stats, which makes it harder to defeat. So just something to bear in mind. So now I'm just going to take out the final Guardian. So I'm going to move all my Digimon closer to him and just fight him off. Probably going to Digivolve Labramon just to make her sustain a little bit longer. Very cool to have Dobermon in this game. Right. Okay, so Guardian is now retaliating. It's his turn. He's going to do a side attack on Diatrimon, which means I'm guarding forward, so the side attack will do more damage than I would like. But that's how it goes. So let's move Floramon closer to him. He's probably out of range of my attack, so I will end my turn. So it's actually the end of everyone's turns. So all of the rookie Digimon earned SP and the champion Digimon lost SP, which makes sense. On the right side, you can see it says turn 2. So that means that every Digimon has moved at least once, is what that means. And you can see now the order of attack. So we start with Diatrimon, then it's Dobemon, Birdramon, Agumon, Lopmon, then the enemy Guardramon, and then Floramon. So he's going to go last. There are 5 Digimon before him. I'm not really liking his odds. So you can do additional damage by attacking from the side or from the back. So I'm going to attack from the back. And hopefully I can do enough damage to take him out in just a couple turns. So there's Destruction Roar. And because Birdramon was next to him, he also gets a free team attack as well, which is pretty awesome. Let's end the turn for him. And then we'll have Dobemon finish him off. There we go. So that's a free battle. So victory. At the end I'll get some experience points. So you can see Labramon, Birdramon, Floramon evolved. And we also earned Guardramon as a partner. Pretty cool. So overall, I do quite like the battle system, but there are some things that I'm not massively keen on. I think that the talking and the recruiting side of things can be cool, but it can also be a little bit frustrating because it is RNG. So like with that Guardramon, if I really wanted a Guardramon, it's a 22% chance, which is 1 in 5, but I could go 10 times and be unsuccessful in recruiting him. And you don't know what Digimon you're going to face off in a free battle. It could be anything. So you could spend a lot of time going for a specific Digimon and just failing because of RNG. So that is very frustrating, especially as you only get 1 shot on each Digimon per fight. On normal difficulty, the game is quite easy, I would say, the combat side of things, but some of the boss battles have taken me by surprise and you do have to use a lot more strategy, so that I think is pretty cool. The free battles can be a little bit mundane sometimes, but I do really like the stages for the boss battles, and some of them have been quite difficult. So yeah, I quite like the battle system. If I were to rate the battle system on its own, I'd probably give it 7 out of 10. And now to talk about the bigger element of the game, which is the story, the visual novel, the whatever you want to call it, the narrative. I really like this part of the game, actually. I think that the story is very well written, the dialogue is very well written. The characters are very interesting and diverse, and they act like you would expect them to act, so I really like that. And also, the overall narrative, I think, is really enjoyable as well. It does obviously suffer from the usual Digimon tropes, it's a bunch of kids that have been transported to the digital world, and they have to fight for their survival. So that's been done a million times, but it is different enough for it to be interesting, and you do really get the sense of danger and how these kids are really out here to survive and how they actually are quite scared. So I think that part of it is done really well. Obviously a lot of the game is just reading through dialogue and answering questions and looking around with your phone trying to pick things up. But I have really enjoyed it. It's not felt too repetitive for me. If you're not into that kind of thing, though, I can see how that might be a little bit frustrating. But overall, that side of the game, I'm very happy about as well. So last thing I wanted to talk about actually is the art style, the graphics. I think it looks amazing, personally. I'm actually playing this on a 1440p monitor, so you can see there are some things that haven't scaled very well. So like the phone itself looks pretty bad, I'll be honest with you. And some of the sprites don't look amazing, but most of the time it looks really good. I think if you had this on the Switch and you were playing it handheld, it would look absolutely incredible. And I probably will pick it up on the Switch physically because I don't have a physical version of the game. But the art style for the battles looks amazing. The art style for the characters and the backdrops, all of it looks really, really nice and really does justice to some Digimon that don't usually get that kind of attention. So graphically, I think it looks really nice, and they definitely didn't cut any corners there. So my overall thoughts on the game is that I really like it. I haven't spent as much time with it as I would have liked in the last week. I've got some more time now that I can spend on playing it, so I'm really looking forward to digging into it. As a Digimon fan, I think it's great. I think if you're not a fan of Digimon, then you basically won't like this. You might be a fan of visual novel games and strategy RPGs, and therefore you might be able to look past the Digimon side, but if you're not a Digimon fan, I feel like that part of it carries it quite well. and so without that element you're not going to like it as much. If you've played games like the Dark Pictures Anthology and Until Dawn and other sort of like horror survival games, like where it's like an adventure game and people can die and survive based on your decisions, this has a lot of that element in it. I've already unfortunately lost one of my characters, so I'm not going to say who it was, but yeah, I think that part of it is pretty cool, and I'm very interested in doing another playthrough to try and save that person. So overall, I would give the game an 8 out of 10. I really like it. I'm going to spend some more time with it, and hopefully I will enjoy it even more. So if you're a Digimon fan, definitely pick this one up. Okay, everyone. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on another video soon. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. Do you like Digimon Survive? Were you disappointed by how much of a visual novel it was versus a strategy RPG? Let me know your thoughts. No spoilers, please. Take care.